Epic Games, the creator of Fortnite, just announced they are laying off over 1,000 employees, and they plan to save $500 million between the layoffs and reduced marketing costs. So why is this move? What role does AI play in this move to clear out all these jobs? That's what we're going to be covering today. The reality is that the company is hemorrhaging cash, absolutely hemorrhaging cash. And companies like Epic did potentially overhire during the pandemic, and that certainly when Fortnite was at its peak. And gosh, they are just spending so much money on ads. It is unbelievable. In any event, they're doing these big layoffs. And now it doesn't sound like AI is being directly attributed to this layoff, which is interesting to me. CEO Tim Sweeney said, quote, we're spending significantly more than we're making, and we have to make major cuts to keep the company funded. And he said, the layoffs are not related to AI, end quote. So he just came out and said it, which I think is an interesting move. Is we've kind of seen with a lot of organizations, a lot of companies on the channel, subscribers will be aware of this, is a lot of companies will make these big layoffs and it kind of is a way of using AI as a scapegoat for a bad quarter or some bad financials. It's hard to say if that's exactly what those companies are doing, but anyway, it does appear to be a bit of a strategy from these CEOs. It looks better to the board to say, well, we're going to be more efficient and we're going to use a lot more AI than it does to say something like, we're hemorrhaging cash. Anyway, shout out to Sweeney for coming out and saying that. The reality though, guys, is that AI is definitely playing a major role in these organizations. Developers are leveraging AI more than ever to be efficient. And I think that there is something to be said here. And I think that it is important to understand, game developers within Epic will be forced to use AI to be more efficient, because the reality is you lay off 1,000 people, what ends up happening is the people that are remaining are going to be expected to do more with less. If you lose a bunch of your admin staff, if you lose a bunch of the testers, the graphic designers, the NPC copywriters, what are you going to do? You're going to leverage AI to fill in those blanks. I mean, what are you going to stay up all night writing copy for a troll that's living in a forest? Probably not. You're going to use AI to write that. And by the way, it's a pretty common complaint in the gaming world that NPC copy is not exactly what it used to be back in my days of Super Mario Brothers. Anyway, I digress. Now, what's also, I think, important to understand here is not only are these game developers within Epic going to be using AI to be more efficient, but game developers outside of Epic are going to be working to be more efficient, because the reality is that developing these huge games costs hundreds of millions of dollars. And I do think that the optimist in me does think that we might be entering a golden age of game design, a golden age of entertainment and art, because everybody is going to have access to build these tools, to build these games. You're not going to need this huge, massive team to build all these games. Now, on the flip side, that does lead to a lot of slop. We're seeing people create just like complete trash all over the internet using AI. That is going to be a thing, that lazy type of art. However, there are going to be some artists out there that are just able to create some amazing things on limited resources, which I think is cool. Now, how is AI being used in game design already? Well, AI testing and basic asset generation like textures and the NPC dialogue that we discussed before does mean fewer support roles are needed. That will eliminate roles. And again, even though Epic is not coming out and saying it, I would be shocked to feel like they're not planning on leveraging artificial intelligence to improve their efficiency. It just wouldn't make any sense. And it's also worth noting here that, if you look at the job market for guys and girls that are looking to get into game design, well, studios are absolutely looking for AI leverage creators. We're kind of in this world where, and I think of it like, if you were a stenographer using a typewriter back in the 60s and 70s, like, when the computer came around, you needed to adapt. And that's kind of the way I see AI. Like, we're moving into this phase of life, I believe, that, you know, if you're gonna work on a computer, like using AI is gonna be kind of like mandatory. It's gonna be table stakes. It's like going to a job and would they ask you, do you know how to use a computer? It's assumed that everyone knows how to use a computer. And because we're so new to AI, it's not necessarily assumed, but having some AI literacy is gonna be table stakes, I think, for anywhere we go. And, you know, quite frankly, most of my focus right now is on using agentic tools like Claude Cowork specifically. I've been really focused on because I just really feel like the next wave is not using AI necessarily as just a tool, but using AI as an assistant or an employee, and that's where the agents come into play. And, you know, guys, if you're a subscriber, you wouldn't be surprised. That's something I've been talking a lot about. Now, what's also interesting is a report from Google, and this actually report came out 6 months ago. And during that report, it was stated that 90% of game developers already use AI in their workflows. And 97% of developers believe generative AI is transforming the industry. 97%, you know, I gotta ask, who are those 3% that felt that it was not transforming the industry? It's a little bit of a get off my lawn type of mentality there, because the reality is that I know anybody that I know that's in the developer, the coding world, they are just like over the moon, in sometimes in a good and sometimes in a bad way, with how AI is transforming what they do. And I'm not a developer, I'm in marketing, and I can see how it's changing my life. I mean, I'm able to create some amazing things using AI. It's just a crazy, crazy time. And it'll be very interesting to see what happens over at Epic as they lay off hundreds and hundreds of people, over 1,000 people getting laid off. Where do they go? What do they do? Do they start their own little game studios? Do they go work for other game studios? Because they're not, you know, Epic's not the only one that is producing these games. But just a quick side note on games. I don't game as much now as I used to, but I understand that all these games now, like, they're free to start, but you have to like pay a subscription or you pay an upkeep fee. I hate that. It's so annoying. I kind of miss the old days where you buy a console, you buy a game, and then you have it. You don't have to pay this upkeep. Kind of the same way with software too. Like we covered Adobe a few days ago. I'll post a link to it here. Adobe's kind of going through a rough time. Like it used to be with Adobe, you buy the suite. Now you can edit videos and you can edit graphics and you can do all this work. Nowadays you gotta pay like a subscription cost, and if I wanna get team members on, I gotta pay for their seats. Very, 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 very frustrating. And I do actually have a semi-solution that I wanna talk about here in just a moment. Because again, the channel's not all doom and gloom. We wanna be solutions-based. Anyway, getting back to gaming. The reality, guys, when it comes to gaming, at least in my opinion, you can shoot me down here, but gaming is becoming leaner, higher skilled, and AI augmented across the board. And I promise you, at Epic, they're gonna be leaning heavy on AI, because what else are you gonna do? You remove 1,000 people, that's a lot of jobs, that's a lot of work that needs to be done. Certainly some of that work, some of those people are loafers, but some of that work is gonna be really important. And the reality is, and I think this is true not just for gaming, but overall, is there will be fewer jobs overall and more leverage for the creator when it comes to AI. So less jobs in one place, but more leverage with AI. That's kind of the stance that I have, you know, because again, AI is solving a lot of problems that historically humans had to solve. Moving forward, optimistically, there will be new problems. There will be new problems that need to be solved by humans that we don't even know about yet. I believe that's going to be the case because AI is just transforming everything. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you are interested, I have a workshop coming up. Very excited about it, teaming up with a great buddy of mine. I know I'm selling it really, really hard right now, but basically the premise of the workshop is it's 2 days live, remote. You're gonna learn how to build your own app. We're gonna be building it together. By the end of the workshop, you're gonna have your own software built. I was talking to my buddy Dan, and when he showed me what he's building, I was very, very impressed. I said, you know what, Dan? I've been looking for someone to help kind of teach me and my audience about what's possible with AI right now. We're gonna be using Claude. So if you wanna learn how to build apps with Claude and connect them to Stripe and monetize, he's gonna give us the whole standard operating procedure, step by step. It's gonna be really good. So it's gonna be limited run. If you wanna be a part of it, you can email me, mark@marksavantmedia.com, mark@marksavantmedia.com. You can get on the wait list, and we'll be sending out invites here in a few days. That's Mark at marksfontmedia.com. All right, boys. All right, girls. Have a great day. If you enjoyed today's video, check out yesterday's video where we talk about how China is doubling down on OpenClaw. They are having workshops, money, cash contests. Very interesting what China is doing when it comes to OpenClaw and AI agentics. Check out that video right here. I'll see you there. Peace.